The rain drummed against the hospital window as Sarah stared at the positive pregnancy test in her trembling hands. At 32, she'd built a successful career as a corporate lawyer, worked 80-hour weeks, and prided herself on her independence. A baby had never been part of her plan. When she met Marcus at her best friend's wedding 6 months ago, she'd been clear about her priorities. Career first, always. Now, sitting in her pristine apartment with its white furniture and glass coffee tables, nothing child-friendly about any of it, she felt her carefully constructed world crumbling. She called Marcus immediately, her voice shaking as she asked him to come over. They'd been dating for half a year, taking things slow, enjoying dinners at upscale restaurants and weekend getaways. They'd talked about the future in vague terms, but never this. When Marcus arrived an hour later, his dark hair wet from the rain, Sarah couldn't meet his eyes. She thrust the test toward him without preamble. He took it, studied it for a long moment, then set it gently on the counter. The silence stretched between them like an ocean. "I can't be a mother," Sarah blurted out, the words tumbling over each other in her panic. "I don't know the first thing about kids. I work 12-hour days. I can barely keep a plant alive. I've never even held a baby, Marcus. I wouldn't know what to do. I'd be terrible at it. I'd mess everything up. I'm not maternal. I don't have that instinct everyone talks about. I can't do this." She was rambling now, pacing back and forth across her living room, her hands gesturing wildly. Everything she'd worked for felt like it was slipping away. The partnership she'd been promised. The big cases she was finally getting assigned. Her freedom. Her sleep. Her life. Marcus watched her quietly, that familiar calm expression on his face that had first drawn her to him. He was a high school teacher, patient and steady in ways she'd never been. When she finally stopped to catch her breath, he smiled. Not a dismissive smile, but one full of warmth and something she couldn't quite identify. "I've got 3 calling you mama already," he said softly. Sarah froze. "What?" Marcus moved to the couch and sat down, patting the cushion beside him. She joined him reluctantly, her mind racing. 3. Had he been married before? Did he have children he'd never mentioned? Why was he smiling about this? "I need to tell you something," Marcus began, taking her cold hands in his warm ones. "I've been wanting to find the right time, and I guess this is it. I have 3 kids. Well, they're not mine biologically, but they're mine in every way that matters." Sarah's eyes widened. "You have kids. 3 kids. Why didn't you tell me?" "Let me explain," he said gently. "About 4 years ago, my sister Emma and her husband died in a car accident. They left behind 3 children. Maya, who's 9 now, Jackson, who's 7, and little Sophie, who just turned 5. I was their guardian in the will. I was 28, single, living in a 1-bedroom apartment, teaching American history to teenagers who barely tolerated me. I didn't know anything about raising kids either." Sarah felt tears prickling her eyes. "Marcus, I had no idea. Why didn't you ever mention them?" "I wanted to," he admitted. "But every time I tried, you talked about how much you valued your freedom, your career, your child-free lifestyle. I was afraid you'd run. And I was being selfish because I really liked you. These past 6 months with you have been the happiest I've been since Emma died. So I kept postponing the conversation, kept making excuses why you couldn't come to my place, always meeting at yours or restaurants." 3 kids, Sarah repeated, still processing. "Where are they now?" "At home with Mrs. Chen, my neighbor who helps with them. She's probably making them do their homework right now while they complain about it." His smile was fond and tired. "Maya's the responsible one, always mothering the younger 2. Jackson's my wild child, full of energy and questions. And Sophie still has nightmares sometimes about the accident, even though she was barely 2 when it happened." Sarah stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the rain-soaked street below. "And you're telling me this now because?" "Because when you said you can't be a mother, I needed you to know that they already think of you as one." Marcus came to stand beside her. "Every time I come home after seeing you, they ask about you. Maya wants to know what you were wearing. Jackson asks if you like dinosaurs because he wants to show you his collection. Sophie draws pictures of you based on my descriptions. But they've never even met me, Sarah whispered. They've seen your photo on my phone. I've talked about you constantly without realizing how much. Last week, Sophie asked me when Miss Sarah was coming to visit. Maya asked if you were going to be her new mom. I tried to explain that adults don't work that way, but kids see things more simply. To them, if I love you, then you're already part of our family. Sarah's tears were flowing freely now. I would disappoint them. I would disappoint all of you. Marcus, I'm not who you think I am. I'm selfish and ambitious, and I don't know how to braid hair or make school lunches or any of the things mothers are supposed to do. Neither did I, Marcus said firmly. That first week after I took them in was the hardest of my life. Maya cried herself to sleep every night calling for her mom. Jackson acted out at school, getting into fights. Sophie wouldn't talk at all. I burned every dinner I tried to make. I forgot to sign permission slips. I sent Jackson to school with 2 different shoes on because I wasn't paying attention. But we figured it out together. He turned her to face him, his hands on her shoulders. You know what I learned? Being a parent isn't about knowing everything or being perfect. It's about showing up. It's about trying. It's about loving them even when everything's a mess and you have no idea what you're doing. What if I can't love them? Sarah asked, voicing her deepest fear. What if I'm just not capable of that kind of love? You're capable of more than you think, Marcus said. I've watched you fight for your clients with a passion that moves me. I've seen you tear up at sad movies you claim not to care about. I've noticed how you always leave extra large tips for waiters who look like they're having a hard day. You have so much love in you, Sarah. You're just scared to let it out. Sarah pulled away and sat back down, cradling her still flat stomach. A baby and 3 kids. That's 4 children, Marcus. That's a whole basketball team. I know, he laughed. Believe me, I know. I don't even have a car that fits 4 kids. We'll figure it out. My apartment has glass everything. We'll baby-proof. I don't know any lullabies. I'll teach you the ones Emma used to sing. For every objection Sarah raised, Marcus had a gentle answer. Not dismissive of her fears, but offering solutions, offering partnership, offering hope. They talked for hours as the rain continued outside, about logistics and fears and possibilities. Marcus showed her photos on his phone, 3 smiling faces at various ages, gap-toothed grins and messy hair and so much life. What if I meet them and they hate me? Sarah asked quietly as dawn began to break outside. What if you meet them and you love them? Marcus countered. That weekend, Sarah found herself standing outside a modest house in the suburbs, clutching Marcus's hand so tightly her knuckles were white. The door flew open before they could knock, and 3 children spilled out onto the porch. Maya was tall and serious-looking with long dark braids. Jackson was a whirlwind of energy, already talking a mile a minute. And Sophie, tiny Sophie with her thumb in her mouth, stared up at Sarah with the biggest brown eyes she'd ever seen. You're real, Jackson shouted. Uncle Marcus said you were pretty, but I thought he was just being gross and in love. Jackson, Maya hissed, elbowing him. Sorry, Miss Sarah. He has no filter. Sophie said nothing, just kept staring, then slowly reached out and touched Sarah's hand with one small finger as if making sure she was solid. Something inside Sarah's chest cracked open. She knelt down so she was at Sophie's level. Hi there. I've heard a lot about you. Your uncle tells me you're an amazing artist. Sophie's face lit up, and she grabbed Sarah's hand, tugging her toward the house. Come see my drawings. As Sarah was pulled inside by an enthusiastic 5-year-old, with Marcus following behind wearing the biggest smile she'd ever seen, she heard Maya whisper to Jackson, See? I told you she was nice. She's perfect for us. The house was chaos, toys scattered everywhere, dishes in the sink, backpacks by the door, drawings taped to every available wall surface. It was the opposite of Sarah's sterile apartment. It was messy and loud and overwhelming. It was also, she realized with surprise, warm. Lived in. Full of love. Sophie showed her every single drawing, narrating elaborate stories about each one. Jackson demonstrated his entire dinosaur collection with encyclopedic knowledge. Maya shyly asked if Sarah wanted to help her pick out an outfit for her school presentation next week. And through it all, Marcus watched her with eyes full of hope and love. That night, after the kids were in bed, Sarah and Marcus sat on his worn couch. "They called me Mama," Sarah said, her voice wondering. Sophie did it first, and then Jackson copied her, and even Maya slipped once. "Does it scare you?" Marcus asked carefully. Sarah thought about it, really thought about it. Yes, it scared her. Everything about this scared her. But for the first time, the fear was accompanied by something else. Something that felt a lot like joy. "Terrifies me," she admitted. "But Marcus..." When Sophie fell asleep holding my hand tonight, when Jackson said I gave the best dinosaur roars, when Maya asked if I'd really come to her presentation, I felt something. I don't know if it's maternal instinct or just plain love, but I felt it. Marcus pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "You don't have to be perfect, Sarah. You just have to be present. The kids and we're a package deal, chaos and all. But we're also a team. And if you'll let us, we'd like you on that team too." Sarah touched her stomach, thinking about the tiny life growing there. This baby would have 3 older siblings who were already excited about the idea of a new addition. Would grow up in a house full of noise and love and controlled chaos. Would have a father who knew how to show up even when things were hard, and a mother who was learning that maybe love wasn't something you knew how to do. It was something you chose to do, every single day. "Okay," she whispered. "I'm in. I'm terrified and I'll probably mess up a lot, but I'm in." Marcus's smile could have lit up the whole city. "That's all we need. We'll figure out the rest together."